Let's give it up for our main dancer, Jasmine. Whoa!
Hello, welcome to Acropolis Comic Corner. This is over here, Mac, aka Darth Bacon. We got a new guest today. You're gonna help us talk about some DC. This is Joby, and this is Tony over here. We're still finding a nickname for him. And
no, we're not.
Yeah, we are. It'll happen. And I'm Chance. Today we are going to talk about some DC because we've been talking about Marvel way too much, and it's just it's not going to be the Marvel show. So we're here to talk about some Green Lantern. We're going to talk about Flash. We're going to talk about Justice League of America, and we're just going to let Joby go ahead and take off with it with the Green Lantern. So basically, I know you were telling me about the Star Trek Green Lantern series. That was the way you were explaining it to me was really cool because it was like the Blackest Night.
Yeah, so I like the way they did it is because it's an alternate reality. You got to take it for what it is. You're mixing Star Trek and Green Lantern, so it can't be part of the DC like total lore, but it's always one of the DC multiverses. And now we also create a Trek multiverse with it, even though those movies did just that as well. And so we got like a third DC and Trek universe mixed in with these two. And the way they explained it is this is the second coming of Necron, of the Black Lanterns. And so the way they explained it is the reason why they traveled to this universe was a last-ditch effort. The only people that survived all of the DC in the end from the second coming of the Blackest Nights were the sole heroes of each Lantern Corps. So there was just basically one of each color that survived, and then Ganthet with a spare ring of each color, except for, I want to say it was orange. I can't remember though, but I know there was one ring missing that he had. The way they explained it is Necron came in and he immediately killed the White Lanterns before they could be White Lanterns, and so he stopped them from coming. They transferred over, and the shenanigans happened.
Now, this is Hal Jordan?
Yes, the Hal Jordan Green Lantern. They do have John Stewart and Guy Gardner and Kilowog. Out of all the lanterns, the only 4 Green Lanterns survived from the Corps, and then one of each other color.
And let's not forget, we got Jim Kirk.
Yes, and Jim Kirk.
Enterprise,
yep,
so.
and the head of the Enterprise. And it was kind of similar to some of the fan fictions at first, where it's like they encounter just these rings, like, what's going on here? Is that a man flying around in space? What's going on here? You know, they're kind of like very confused at first in the whole scenario until Hal comes along to show. And so they find Ganthet's body on a planet, and all the rings are on with Ganthet. And so being standard Star Trek, let's isolate the alien, isolate the devices, bring them up to check. And then when things start hitting the fan, the rings kind of disperse amongst the Star Trek crew.
So how did they end up in the Star Trek universe?
Ganthet basically sacrificed his life to open a portal, and him and the rest of the Lanterns kind of traveled through that, and so that's how that went. And so Ganthet, the last Guardian, killed himself to escape the Black Light, and he was kind of hoping that the Black Lanterns would not show up. But since the Black Lantern is essentially the essence of death, it exists in every universe already. Yeah. And the thing I did love, though, is of course that like the main 3 characters of Star Trek, or some of the bigger 3, just didn't get rings. Like Kirk did not get a ring, Spock didn't get a ring,
Kirk
and
a ring.
Though that's the thing is that Kirk and Hal Jordan though are almost the same character. They really are. They're almost the same person the way they act. And so it's really hard to give Hal Jordan a ring and then Kirk a ring because those two are just going to butt nonstop. The thing I thought was the best was that Spock, okay, so the White Lanterns is someone who has control of all emotions. The White Lantern is the only thing that can kill the Blacks. And so the Black Lanterns killed the White Lanterns in the other universe. If you think Star Trek, who's in full control of their emotions? Who is the only one that can control all of it? Vulcan.
Yes.
Vulcan is all gone in this. So Vulcan in this universe is destroyed, just like in the movies. So when the Black Lanterns come back, they bring back all the Vulcans as Black Lanterns that died on that planet. So that's his starting army. And so I thought it was amazing in the end because once Hal Jordan told him how they beat Kirk before, how they beat Necron with the emotions, he's like, hold on, everybody give, as soon as Kirk heard it, he's like, everybody give your rings to Spock now. And then Spock put on the rings, and boom, White Lantern Spock was born to wipe out the Blacks. And so that's how they kind of finished that. But I just thought, I was like, of course, the man who absolutely lacks emotion is the one who can harness the power of all the emotions. And it made the most sense.
That is really cool. That is really, really cool.
Well, one thing I did read a lot of would be the Flash. I think I'm on issue 42 now, and the artistry of it is just amazing.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm a very, very big Marvel fan, and coming into DC, it beats it, like, hands down. Just how cool the characters actually look, and like the guy looks insane, you know, like he looks evil. You don't really see a lot of that in Marvel. One major complaint though I have is that I'm paying $1 less than I would for a Marvel book, but every other page is an ad. You can see this, you've got 5 panels on top and 2 ads. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
See, I guess I never really noticed that because I'm always buying the graphic novel volume sets.
Yeah, and
I
you
don't
wouldn't, you don't
and so
see
you
those
don't
in
get
it.
that
But I
way,
mean,
so I never
every other
really
page
noticed that.
is another ad. It's very aggravating because somebody who spends a lot of money on comics, you know, I want to get my money's worth out of it, and this is just ridiculous. That's one page, turn, ad.
Well, we
Got
count
me
like
wondering
17
here.
ads in there.
Yeah, there was like 17 just in this one alone.
Okay, and
yeah.
because this is a special type, the crossovers, there is like 0 ads besides
Well,
the beginning.
this
of
is also not published by just DC.
That's
this is
true.
IDW also, so they may be getting some of their money from both of the publishers, which is really cool, especially when you do the crossover events.
Yeah.
Like the Batman and Ninja Turtles one, there wasn't a ton of ads in that one either.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But since I've been buying these actual issues, the last 5 pages of almost everything is at least 5 ads.
You have an
every
ad or
time.
an article about the writer or a character that wasn't even in it.
Yeah. I mean, you can't even call that not an ad. This is an
Right.
article about, what is that,
Starfire.
Starfire, yeah.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the Flash.
But you know, I know we talk about Marvel a lot on this show, but man, I like the new 52 stuff. Like the new 52 stuff, the writers and the artistry is so awesome. Like reading Batman, Superman, like Superman isn't as strong as what he was. You know?
Yeah, he was a god.
Like in
he
the-
was godly, and like I always hated that because the people always bring up those arguments online. Who could beat who? Goku, Superman, this
Oh,
and that. And
yeah,
it was one of those
yeah,
like you
yeah.
guys, like you clearly haven't read a Superman comic in your life to understand how powerful Superman really is.
Yeah.
In the DC lore, he's set up for like checks and balances. He's supposed to essentially be a god, to be that good guy that's like if you go bad or mess up, I'm there to stop you.
Yeah.
One thing that's really cool about the DC superheroes is that they are like that Omni, super powerful, but they pin themselves as a certain character type so
Yeah.
much so that
It's-
they wouldn't do these bad things.
Checks and
Yeah,
balances with
exactly.
each character, kind of
And
thing.
if Superman was in the Marvel universe, he'd probably just be ruling everything.
Well, just
Yeah.
like that graphic novel, The Red Sun. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, where Superman. It's a retelling of Superman if he would have crash landed in Russia.
That
Yeah,
was
oh,
an
yeah,
awesome
yeah.
story.
That is
Love
cool.
that story.
That is very cool.
I always
Yes.
love versions like
And then
that.
there's those kind of checks and balances too. So it's not like now it's like you're kind of flipping them over.
Same thing. It's like, what if Hal Jordan and like Guy Gardner were Nazis in World War II instead of like Americans or born later on?
Which I'm killing to read that because like I read a Wolverine comic where Wolverine showed up in a Nazi death camp.
Okay, wow.
Yeah,
that must be interesting. Why won't you die?
Pretty much that's exactly how it went down. He was making everybody go crazy and kill themselves, and it was crazy.
That's amazing.
But yeah.
It's
No,
funny how we were talking about we're talking about DC.
And it stretched right into Marvel.
Yeah, it's still spun right back.
Well, World War II was a segue.
Yeah, segue. Oh, there it is.
But yeah, the Batman comics, I freaking love it. I just love how Batman in the new 52, it's like he loses. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he
exactly.
loses.
He's
Like
not
he
like-
lost control of Gotham completely,
Yeah,
man.
doesn't I believe it was you that was telling me like the half of Gotham gets flooded or something
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's like, and I like that about that version of Gotham now because now we actually see the full war that's been going on for years between his villains and Gotham and the actual toll on that. He's working so hard to clean up Gotham, but half of his time his actions are making it worse as he's trying to do it because the villains just keep upping their game and higher the stakes.
And, and it just shows how normal he really
He's
is.
still just a guy. Oh, Batman can beat everybody. Dude, Bane broke his back. Bane's just a pumped up, over muscular guy. He's a Mexican though. He's one of the very few like Hispanic characters in the DC lore. Like I got a couple villains and a couple heroes, and that's it. Like that's nothing. And then the heroes are like extremely. I don't want to say racist, but stereotypical looking. Like you look at this dude called Azteca. And like he looks kind of like a luchador. Like he's just really muscular, loincloth, but he wears like a mask helmet that's like an Aztec sun. So it's just one of those like it's kind of like, all right guys, like come on, we can do a little bit better. It's like all I got is Vibe. That's my favorite one. Vibe is the best like Latin hero.
We were talking about how the characters are checks and balances with the heroes. One thing that DC does really well and very poorly is that their heroes are always that stereotypical hero.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're just going to do what's right because it's right. We're not going to do what's wrong. You're not going to kill anybody. It's against everyone's character. But what DC does amazingly is their villains.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It defines the role of the characters and the entire story. Like, when you're talking about Batman, they make Batman's story more so than Batman.
Oh yeah, for
yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I mean,
Superman, Lex Luthor, he's got a very intimate background in his upbringing and how he came, and it's one of those, you see how like truly ingenious and evil he really is throughout it. So Lex Luthor growing up, depending on the story, in Smallville, in Metropolis, depending on the origin, because there's like 15 different origins of every character in DC.
There's another problem with DC.
Yeah, well, it always comes on the DC verse, which multiverse and who's writing it.
Yeah.
But like Lex Luthor, the standard one is that growing up, he was really kind of poor, and he took out a big insurance policy on his parents, and then he set up. Basically, he plotted their murder and made it look like an accident, so he could collect all the insurance money, and that's how he started LexCorp. And so then from there, it gets worse as he progresses, you know. And then like the worst part of the thing is that Lex thinks himself as the hero, and those are always the worst people, as the ones who thinks he's saving the world. In Lex's mind, he's the good guy, and he's the only one trying to save all these people from Superman. He's the tip. Lex basically is the human version of xenophobia. Something strange came into the planet. We don't know what it is. We can't beat it. My whole goal is just dedicating my life to figuring out how to stop guys like him from coming down and taking us over. And so, like, in a way, Lex is a good guy, but he does it through bad actions, like, in his own mind. Mm-hmm. They have to take it an extra step because their superpowers aren't just enough to beat those heroes half the time. Right. That's one of those, they have to take it an extra step. I love Zoom. Flash, I could talk about Flash all day. Professor Zoom, the Oberthon, or I guess Hunter Sally. I guess Oberthon's technically reverse Flash, but in another word version he calls himself Professor Zoom too. Technically Professor Zoom was Hunter Solomon. That's the second Zoom. But Reverse Flash, Oberthon, he was my favorite because he's so intelligent and like he is by far like super intelligent. That's why he's a professor. He's a professor from like I can't remember
20th century or something.
Yeah, it's like
but he's super flawed as a character
because he's egotistical and
he gets obsessed with being Barry Allen, which is what drives him to get the superpowers in the first place.
But once again, the really good origin stories on DC. Okay, so. Reverse Flash started out, Barry Allen disappeared, everybody thought he was dead, and he just appears back one day. So Barry, running as the Flash, he's going it, and he's just doing his thing, being the Flash as normal, but then he slowly starts to realize he forgot stuff, he's starting to remember. And then as he's slowly remembering, he realizes he's not Barry Allen. He's Oberd Thawne. He was a super fan of the Flash from the future that wanted to be the Flash so badly that he traveled back in time and like he got plastic surgery to look like Barry and everything else. Wow. And so he wanted to be the Flash. He was an obsessive fanboy. Right. So much so to where how he got his superpowers is he stole a Flash suit from a Future Flash museum, and then he reverse engineered the speedster particles. So the Speed Force particles that are entwined on his suit from running all the time because he's part of the Speed Force, he just negatively charged them.
Because Barry Allen actually made the Speed Force.
That's true. Like he was like kind of the first. It still comes I guess with the new 52 if that's the way they're doing it.
I'm
like,
not sure they haven't really got.
I was gonna say because it kind of really technically depends on the origin.
Well, we don't know who this one is yet either.
Oh, for that Flash?
Yeah,
so it could be Oberd Thawne, it could be
Wally
Hunter
West,
Solomon. Yeah, I was gonna say I think I did read something about like it being his a family member was the Reverse Flash or something like that. But yeah, so Oberd Thawne was running around pretending to be Barry until he realized he wasn't, because he time traveled after using that suit, because the suit technically is what gives the Reverse Flash his powers.
Right.
He slowly that was rubbed off onto him to be like normal though. But at first, that's how he got his powers.